After working at Tech Vantage for 15 years, Sara sat in a small meeting room across from her boss, Marjorie Thompson. Next to Marjorie was Denise from HR. Both had polite but distant expressions. "We're changing your role," Marjorie said, sounding almost pleased. "The company is going in a new direction," Denise added, sliding a folder across the table. "You've done great work, but we're merging the research team with product development." Sara took the folder without opening it. She already knew what was inside, a severance package with a few months of health coverage and job resources she wouldn't use. "I understand," Sara said calmly. Both women looked relieved. They had expected her to be upset. After all, she was 55, and in tech, younger employees were often favored. But Sara had seen this coming weeks ago, thanks to an email that had accidentally landed in her inbox. "We need you to clear your desk by Friday," Marjorie continued, now more confident. "Before you leave, we'll collect your key card, laptop, and phone. Your team will be informed this afternoon." Sara thought of her team, 6 engineers she had hired and mentored. Together, they had created the core technology behind Tech Vantage's biggest product, a widely used accounting software. "Of course," she said, standing up. "Anything else?" The two exchanged a look, surprised by her calmness. "That's all, thanks for being professional about this," Marjorie said. As Sara walked back to her office, she passed a glass-walled conference room. Inside, the CEO, Victor Lawson, was leading a meeting about company profits. He was the same man who had taken credit for her work at a big industry event, calling her just a member of our research team. She closed her office door and sent a quick text. "It's happening. My last day is Friday." The reply came instantly. "Perfect timing. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize." Sara smiled. It was Wednesday. Friday, she would leave Tech Vantage. And on Monday, things would get interesting. That evening, Sara met Gregory Sullivan, CEO of Tech Vantage's biggest competitor, at a quiet, high-end restaurant. "They actually fired you," Greg said, shaking his head. "I thought they might, but letting go of the person who built their core technology." "Victor never really understood what I created," Sara said. "He liked the product, but he didn't get the technology behind it." 3 months ago, Sara had discovered that Tech Vantage had never filed the patent for her algorithm. They had forgotten, they claimed, but when she looked deeper, she found a secret company memo. They planned to claim the invention as their own, without crediting her. What they didn't know was that she had been improving the algorithm on her own time, using her personal computer. Those updates made it 43% faster, and because she worked on them outside of work, they legally belonged to her. Last month, she had quietly filed a patent in her own name, with full documentation to prove it. Thanks to Greg's connections, the patent had been approved quickly. Now, Greg slid a folder across the table. "The deal is ready. Once you sign, Precision Systems gets exclusive rights to your technology, and we announce you as our new Chief Innovation Officer on Monday." Sara looked over the contract. She already knew what it included: a big signing bonus, company shares, and royalties from every product using her algorithm. "What do you think Victor will do when he finds out?" Greg asked, smirking. "I'm more worried about my team," Sara said. "They don't deserve to be left behind." Greg nodded. "Already handled. We have jobs ready for all 6 of them, with better pay and senior positions." Sara signed the papers. In one move, she had secured her future, protected her team, and claimed what was rightfully hers. Greg lifted his glass. "To new beginnings." Sara smiled and clinked her glass against his. "And to knowing your own worth." Thursday and Friday passed quickly, filled with exit interviews, meetings to hand over my work, and goodbyes. I stayed professional the whole time, even as whispers spread through the office. Some assistants gave me sympathetic looks. Junior developers nervously asked if I'd write them LinkedIn recommendations. I carefully documented everything, every project, every password, every process, knowing Tech Vantage would soon realize just how much they had relied on me. Leaving behind detailed notes wasn't an act of kindness. It was proof. Proof that I had done everything properly, while the company had not. During my final exit interview on Friday, Denise from HR read through her checklist in a flat tone. "You understand that anything you created while working here belongs to Tech Vantage," she said, sliding a non-disclosure agreement across the table. "Of course," I replied with a polite smile. "Anything made during work hours, using company resources." I emphasized those words just slightly, but Denise was too focused on her list to notice. "And you confirm you haven't taken any company information?" "I've taken nothing that belongs to Tech Vantage," I answered truthfully. Because the patent was mine. Back at my desk, I packed my things: a few family photos, conference badges, the coffee mug my team gave me for Christmas. Marjorie stopped by, leaning casually against the doorframe. Just wanted to make sure everything's clear for your departure, she said, watching me place items into a box. Crystal clear, I replied, carefully wrapping a small award, the one I won for the very algorithm at the center of my plans. You know, Sara, these decisions aren't personal, she continued. Victor thinks the company needs a younger direction. I met her gaze. I understand, it's just business. For a second, she looked unsure. Then she brushed it off. After all, what could a 55-year-old woman who just lost her job possibly do? Are you taking some time off? She asked with fake concern. Actually, I already have something lined up, I said. I start Monday. Her eyebrows lifted. That's quick. Anything interesting? I smiled. Very. A leadership position. I'm really looking forward to it. She gave a vague nod, already distracted. Well, good luck with that. As I stepped outside Tech Vantage's glass headquarters for the last time, I turned back for one final look. Monday was going to be very, very interesting. As I stood outside the building where I had spent 15 years of my career, I looked up at the top floor. The executive conference room was lit up for an evening meeting, probably discussing how to divide my work among younger, cheaper employees with less experience. They had no idea that in less than 72 hours, that same room would be filled with panic. On Monday morning, the sun was shining, and I dressed carefully in a charcoal suit, a power outfit I had bought just for this day, right on time at 7:30 a.m. A black town car from Precision Systems arrived to take me to my new office. Greg greeted me as I settled into my spacious corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. The press release went out at 7 a.m., he said. Industry news sites are already picking it up. Our team is watching the reaction. The announcement was carefully worded. Precision Systems acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary processing algorithm, welcomes creator Dr. Sara Jennings as Chief Innovation Officer. It highlighted my role as the inventor and made one thing very clear: any company currently using the technology, including Tech Vantage, would now have to negotiate licensing rights. At 9:15 a.m., my phone buzzed with a message from Miguel, my lead developer. Complete chaos here, what did you do? I smiled and replied, check your personal email, you all have job offers waiting. Meanwhile, over at Tech Vantage headquarters, what should have been a normal Monday morning meeting quickly turned into a crisis. Miguel kept me updated through text messages. By 9:30 a.m., Victor arrived at the office only to find the company's lawyers and CFO waiting for him. They had all seen the news at the same time, and alarms were going off. They're pulling every file with your name on it, Miguel reported. They even brought in servers from the research division to investigate. I could imagine Victor pacing, demanding answers from Marjorie and the legal team. Investors were already reacting. Tech Vantage's stock was dropping, while Precision Systems' stock was rising. At 10:45 a.m., I received an email from Victor himself. I could almost feel his desperation through the screen. Sara, there seems to be a misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss. I forwarded it to Precision Systems' legal team and didn't bother replying. By noon, the entire industry was talking. Tech Vantage's stock had fallen by 7%, while Precision Systems had gained 12%. Journalists were reaching out, wanting interviews about the shocking business move. Greg stopped by my office. How are you feeling? He asked. I smiled, validated. For years, others had taken credit for my work. I had been told I should just be grateful for a seat at the table, but now, finally, I was getting the recognition I deserved. My new assistant appeared at the door. Dr. Jennings, the development team is ready for you in the main conference room. Also, Tech Vantage's CEO has called 4 times in the last hour. I kept my voice calm. Let him know I'm in meetings all day. Our legal team will reach out later this week. As I walked toward my first meeting as Chief Innovation Officer, my phone buzzed again. Board just called an emergency session. Victor looks like he's about to explode. P.S. My team and I accept your offer. When can we start? By Tuesday morning, the full impact of my departure was clear. Tech Vantage's biggest product, AccountSphere, ran on my algorithm, without licensing rights. They had only 2 choices: negotiate with Precision Systems or rebuild their technology from scratch, something that would take years and cost millions. I had won. Victor has called an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m., Miguel texted. It was his last day at Tech Vantage. He and the rest of my former team would start at Precision Systems next Monday. Rumor is they're going to try to sue you. I forwarded the message to our legal team, who quickly responded. Let them try. Your documentation is flawless, development logs, timestamps, personal equipment use, all clearly set up. We're ready for this. Meanwhile, I was settling into my new role with ease. The respect I was receiving at Precision Systems was a world away from my last years at Tech Vantage. When I spoke, people actually listened. My ideas weren't taken and presented by male colleagues as their own. My age and experience were seen as strengths, not weaknesses. The engineering team is using your efficiency improvements, Greg told me in our afternoon briefing. Early tests show a 51% performance boost, better than expected. I had a few extra improvements I never shared with Tech Vantage, I admitted. Once I realized they were going to get rid of me, I had no reason to give them my best work. Their loss, our gain, Greg grinned. Speaking of which, we got the first licensing inquiry this morning, not from Tech Vantage. They're still in denial, but from Dataflow Systems. They're worried about getting caught in the middle. At 3:30 p.m., Miguel sent me an update from Victor's all-hands meeting. The CEO had tried to sound confident, saying they would defend our proprietary technology, but the room felt tense. Several employees had already changed their LinkedIn profiles, sensing something was wrong. Marjorie looked like she was going to faint when someone asked if they'd failed to secure the patent. Miguel wrote. Victor cut the meeting short after that. By Wednesday, things were getting worse. 2 major clients reached out to Precision Systems about switching from AccountSphere, worried about Tech Vantage's ability to maintain the product without the algorithm's inventor. Our stock rose another 8%, while Tech Vantage's continued to fall. That afternoon, I received a call from Denise in HR, the same woman who handed me my severance package just days before. Sara, she said, trying to sound professional, I'm calling about your patent. We think there may have been a misunderstanding about ownership rights. I don't think there's any misunderstanding, I replied calmly. My agreement clearly states anything created on my own time, with my own resources, belongs to me. The patent confirms that. Victor was hoping you'd come in to discuss options. Any discussions should go through Precision Systems' legal team now, I said. They'll be happy to arrange a meeting to discuss licensing terms. There was a long pause. Finally, Denise sighed. I'll pass that along. By Friday, just 1 week after I left Tech Vantage, the company was in full crisis mode. Their stock had dropped 23% from Monday, causing panic among investors. Through my contacts, I found out that Victor had finally admitted the situation's seriousness to the board. Tech Vantage had to either license my algorithm from Precision Systems, at very high costs, or rebuild AccountSphere from scratch without using any technology covered by my patent. They've started interviewing for a new development team, Miguel told me during our Friday video call. Victor's claiming they can recreate the tech in 6 months. I just smiled. It took me 3 years to perfect the original algorithm, and that was with deep knowledge of the problem. Exactly, Miguel said. Nobody believes their timeline, especially since our whole team resigned at the same time. They lost too much knowledge. That afternoon, Tech Vantage's lawyers finally contacted Precision Systems about a licensing deal. As planned, our legal team responded with terms that were fair but tough, 3 times the normal licensing rate and a public statement crediting me as the algorithm's inventor. They'll hate admitting you created it more than paying the price, Greg said as we reviewed the response. Victor's pride won't let him admit he fired the person behind their key technology. Then they'll have to rebuild, I said, and while they struggle, we keep moving ahead. By Monday, just 10 days after I was let go, I led my first meeting with my new innovation team, which now included Miguel and the 5 engineers from Tech Vantage. The energy in the room was completely different. We were free to focus on real work. This is how meetings should be, Anita said. At Tech Vantage, we wasted time explaining things to executives who never listened. That's the difference between being valued and being seen as replaceable, I replied. Here, your skills matter. As we wrapped up, my assistant appeared at the door. Dr. Jennings, Tech Vantage just announced big changes. Victor Lawson is stepping down as CEO, effective immediately. The news spread fast. Within hours, industry reports confirmed that Tech Vantage's board had lost faith in Victor after his huge mistake with my patent. Marjorie Thompson and their head of legal were also out. That evening, I received an unexpected email from Richard Donovan, the new interim CEO. Unlike Victor's desperate message last week, this one was professional and respectful. Dr. Jennings, congratulations on your new role. I've been brought in to fix the situation at Tech Vantage. I'd like to discuss a fair licensing deal for your technology. We're prepared to publicly acknowledge your contributions and make things right. Are you available to meet next week? I forwarded the email to Greg with a simple note, Phase 1 complete. His reply came back quickly. Beautifully executed. The board is thrilled with your first big win for Precision Systems. Looks like Tech Vantage is finally learning an expensive lesson about valuing innovators. 3 months later, I stood on stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference, ready to deliver the keynote speech. The room was filled with tech leaders, journalists, and developers, many of whom now knew my story. And now, I'm honored to introduce our keynote speaker, the host said, Dr. Sara Jennings, Chief Innovation Officer at Precision Systems and creator of the breakthrough algorithm revolutionizing data processing. As I walked to the podium, the applause was loud. Just a year ago, I had attended the same event as part of the Tech Vantage team, sitting in the back while Victor took credit for work he barely understood. Thank you, I said, looking out at the crowd. Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the importance of valuing intellectual contributions, no matter where they come from. I explained my algorithm, but I also spoke about recognition and respect in the tech industry. Without naming Tech Vantage, I made it clear, companies that fail to support their best people will eventually pay the price. After the speech, during the reception, a few young women engineers came up to me for advice. One of them, who looked to be around 30, said, "Your story made me change how I keep track of my work. Now, I write down everything I create, especially in my personal time." That's smart, I told her. Your ideas deserve to be protected. Later that evening, I checked my phone and saw an industry news alert. Tech Vantage had finally signed a licensing deal with Precision Systems. They officially named me as the creator of the algorithm. Their stock had stabilized, though it was worth much less than before I left. Exactly 1 year after being told to pack up my things, I sat in my large office at Precision Systems, reviewing our latest innovation report. Under my leadership, we had launched 3 major new products using my algorithm, taking a big share of the market from Tech Vantage and other competitors. A knock on the door interrupted me. It was Greg, carrying a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Happy anniversary," he said with a grin. He set the glasses down and added, "The board wanted me to tell you personally before the public announcement, Precision Systems is now officially worth more than Tech Vantage for the first time in history." I smiled, not out of revenge, but with quiet satisfaction. That's what happens when a company values innovation the right way. As Greg poured the champagne, my assistant brought in a sleek envelope. Inside was an invitation to speak at the Women in Technology Leadership Summit. The topic? Owning your ideas, how good documentation changed an industry. "You've become a bit of a legend, you know," Greg said, noticing the invitation. "Your story, the executive who failed to appreciate the talent she had, has become a warning in boardrooms everywhere." Richard Donovan, now the permanent CEO of Tech Vantage, had completely changed how the company treated innovation. Their new rules for recognizing and protecting inventors were based on the policies I had introduced at Precision Systems. "It was never about getting back at them," I said, raising my glass. "It was about proving that innovation comes from real people, and those people deserve credit." "To proper recognition," Greg agreed, clinking his glass against mine. As the afternoon sun shined through my office windows, I reflected on my journey. At 56, I had finally found what I had been searching for, not just success, but acknowledgement. My name was now forever tied to the algorithm that changed the industry. Exactly where it belonged.